Hey, everybody, welcome back again. This is Erik Brown bringing you the best of LA, where we share cool local businesses and how you can connect with them here in the Los Angeles area. And so I've got a really cool treat today. We're going to be talking with Melanie Siegel, who is an associate marriage and family therapist. So a really unique concept for us to be able to just dive right into. So Melanie, I always love to ask, by the way, thank you so much for being here. Uh,
Absolutely.
I love to ask, what got you started in the business?
So I actually started off studying drama, which was kind of looking at the psychology of why people do what they do, right, to get into a character. And I'm sure this is something that people are familiar with being in the industry and in Hollywood. So that was kind of my first interest into psychology was how to get into a character. Why do people do what they do? Um, Really trying to understand someone from the words on a page and inhabit it. And I think that's where the interest in psychology started. And from there, I was enjoying acting, but also feeling like I really want to do something that's making a difference every day. And I know that might sound trite, but I have a very generous heart, a giving heart, and felt like I have all this energy and a real capacity to be there and hold space for people, whether they're having really great time in life or also particularly when they're having really dark, hard moments. Felt I really have the capacity to be there for people in those states. So, of course, I couldn't just be like, hey, I'm a therapist, have to go back to school for such a thing. So I went back to school, found it really fascinating and so nice to be in school when you're really, really wanting to be there. Different experience.
Yeah.
Um, and now I feel like I've kind of gone from turning the spotlight inward toward or on me to turning the spotlight onto other people and being there to hear their stories and shepherd them through the hard times of their lives and really understand themselves, why they're doing what they're doing or how they could get to where they want to be.
I think that's anytime I have the opportunity to talk to someone that is pursuing a passion, it always just resonates. And so the way that you responded, it just resonates with me. I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. It's true. I mean, it resonates for me too. And I feel not everyone feels passionate about their work and people have different relationships to work, but that passion has been really important to me. And I'm really glad that I found something that I feel truly passionate about. And and that continues to be something that grows my heart and mind. It's not just that I'm seeing this growth in clients, which is amazing, but
Of
I'm
course.
not like a I'm not like a cardboard cutout sitting there. I'm feeling changed and impacted by the work that I'm doing with clients too. So I feel it is reciprocal in a way.
Well, you mentioned this a little offline, but you work with, I think, a variety of different type of clients as they're having relationship or marriage questions or concerns. And so could you talk to us a little bit about what type of folks you work with, what type of things that maybe you can help with, concerns that people bring to you, all of it?
Absolutely. So, yes, I definitely have heard people out during different parts of relationship. So, I do work with individual adults. I work with couples doing kind of premarital work, or, sometimes nowadays it's not even about a marriage, it's just about a relationship and wherever that relationship is. I've also done work with the LGBTQ population. That's a population I really enjoy working with, and um, I'm an ally in that community and have a lot of connections in that community. And I have done a lot of work with teenagers. So kind of starts even the preteen, so 11 to like young adult 20s is a population that I really deeply enjoy working with. It's a population that needs a lot of help, especially after COVID, with a lot of missed opportunities and kind of stalling out during those years where they feel like they didn't get to grow. So there's a lot to be mined and processed there. Uh, and as I mentioned earlier in my intro, I do have experience in the entertainment industry. So I tend to be a really good fit for entertainment industry professionals, whether it's writers, visual artists, cinematographers, just because I can speak that language and understand the unique struggles of the industry. Um, and part of what I do, you know, it's in the title, associate marriage and family therapist. Part of what I do is work with families and, you know, relationships. So even if I'm working with a teen, it's not just the teen. I'm the teen's therapist, but I'm also usually doing some parent consulting because the work can't just happen in an hour session. It happens, you know, with the people who the teen is spending the most time with. So yeah, that's a little bit about the populations that I work with. Oh, and I also run a women's process group. So just for women, adult women of all ages. The groups usually have 6 to 10 people with I'll find people who share a common theme that they're going through. So maybe a life transition, postpartum depression, um, relationship issues. And that's a really unique opportunity for people to feel connection and support and to have reflected back to them things about themselves that they're maybe doubting or need validation from. Instead of getting that from one person, they can get it from 6 or 7 or 8, which is really nice.
You know, you touched on something in this world of a pandemic and
Mm.
with the way that we've transitioned. And I think many would argue that it seems like we're in more polarizing times than we might have been 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So this idea of sense of community and being able to collaborate and communicate with other people that are experiencing or going through similar things, I think has such a value in it.
Yes, yes, it definitely does. And part of what I do with teens and adults and couples is building those relational skills. Now, a lot of people just feel like I should have these. What's wrong with me? Like, why isn't it connecting? But just because you're feeling a lack of connection doesn't mean you're at a loss. The first step is really admitting that you feel the disconnect, not just putting on a mask and pretending that everything is fine. And and seeking some sort of help. And I'm not even saying you have to come to therapy, although I'd be happy to help anyone who wants to come in. But I can offer, you know, that kind of skill building. And so can, at this point, like YouTube videos and self-help books. And there's a lot of great resources, but you don't, nothing is fixed. And I think a lot of people got into a feeling of isolation and stagnation, and that there can be some stigma associated with saying, like, I feel out of it. I feel depressed. I don't feel as social as I used to feel, or I'm I'm not who I want to be. Um, but that's just a point for growth.
I think so I was a collegiate athlete a lifetime ago,
Mm,
and I've always been a big believer in coaching.
hmm.
And when you think about how powerful the mind is as a muscle within our body, that
Hmm.
tool also is going to occasionally require some coaching or some tweaking. We can't assume that one mind is perfect at everything. And so you use the word, it's funny, I internally smiled a little bit when you use the word stigma. And I was going to ask you if there's people that come to you or that don't come to therapy because of stigmas and how maybe you help kind of get over those questions or concerns that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whenever I'm seeing someone new, I'm asking them, especially if they've never been to therapy before, there's sort of something behind that, right? Like, is it just that it's never come up for you? Or is it that you have certain feelings about this, or people in your life have certain feelings about this? Is it a cultural thing that people like you, whatever that means, don't do therapy? So there's a lot to unpack there. And I think that um, that's definitely changing in certain cities and certain parts of the world, changing quite slowly, perhaps. I think COVID bringing out, you know, bringing mental health kind of out into the world, into the forefront as like, this is a crisis. People are really dealing with this, was helpful for destigmatizing mental health. But I think a lot of people just think, shouldn't I just be able to fix my own problems? Or like, what do you think? I'm just a lonely person who needs to pay for mental health help? Like, I have friends who I could bounce things off of. And for some people, that's true. And some people keep their own counsel. Um, nothing against that. But I do think that they're just the way that you go to the doctor for a checkup. and we value that, and get your blood work done. I think that taking time to really explore what's on your mind, how you're actually feeling, and hear how you tell the story of your life, and notice what thoughts recur. Think about where you are, where you've been, where you are, where you want to go. I truly think that that is of value. And having someone who can hold a space in a neutral way. And also, your friends and family have not gotten trained in helping people with mental health, or maybe some of them have, which, I mean, good on you if that's the case. That's awesome. But I think there's something really special about it, and I wish that more people could look at it the way that they do, like a regular doctor's appointment. But I also really understand, because it can be scary to admit that you need help. Doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. Just means, like you said, like you mentioned, that so much is happening in our brain, so much energy is going to our brain. Like, it makes sense that every now and then things get a little off, wires cross a little bit. We need to get untangled. And sometimes we can do that on our own. And sometimes we do need some help. And that's also human.
Have you, as you've gone through this process and as you've talked to more and more people in various mediums, group sessions, Zoom sessions, in-person sessions, etc., have you seen anything trending or changing as we're moving forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen something really interesting with teens, and uh, I'm happy to report I don't find it to be like a grim finding, because I think that the teens are actually aware of it. Now, it might just be the teens coming to me, but a lot of the teens that I've worked with have an awareness of how social media is actually like making them more anxious. And I'm sure people are seeing things like about social media and anxiety and depression in the headlines for adults and teens alike. But I've found that refreshing, actually, that a lot of my teen clients, more and more, I'm hearing them say, there's actually a device some of them have gotten called like a phone cage. They actually lock their phone in a cage for a certain amount of time, and they literally cannot touch it. And to me, that's, even though that might seem extreme, it's a positive thing that they're noticing
Yeah.
how this device is making them feel. And I talk a lot with all my clients about like nothing is either good or bad. It's just you're in relationship with something. So teens are in relationship with social media, and it's not like just because everyone's on their phone, I have to be too. It's, what do you choose? What kind of relationship would you like to have with this thing? Um, so yeah, there's definitely the anxiety being, rising with social media, and also just an increase of depression and feelings of isolation. And the antidote to that is, yeah, lock your phone in a cage. No, is noticing that you feel that way, and then realizing that you're at what, like, we call in therapy world, some sects of therapy world, a choice point, where you're noticing, and now you can make a choice about what to do next. Um, let's see, other things that I see kind of trending. CBT, a lot of people know about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I
Mhm.
still use some of that, but there's a trend towards another three-letter acronym known as ACT. That's acceptance and commitment therapy. So it's kind of like the new wave of something. Instead of CBT, it's more about, instead of changing thoughts, accepting thoughts, and kind of giving yourself some space. For example, if I was thinking like, I'm so unlovable, instead I could accept that I'm having the thought and put a little space from that by saying like, I'm having the thought that I'm so unlovable, um, and seeing how that might feel differently in your body. And then ACT is very like, I really like it because it's very values based. So you can look at like what your values are in life, and then we'll come back to our Hollywood LA analogy, as if a camera was on you, watching you in your life, like what would it look like in the movie of your life if you're moving towards those things? And what does it look like when you move away from those things? And what does it feel like on the inside and sound like in your mind? Um, and what does it look like on the outside? So yeah, I would say those are two of like the big trends, the anxiety and depression, isolation with social media, and then kind of therapeutic theory wise, seeing more ACT as opposed to CBT. But CBT is still very much thriving and can be very helpful. And I still use it as needed. It comes up to me like, you try things and then you're like, yeah, this person is, I can see this person opening up with that thing, or I can see them closing with that thing. So there are definitely some clients that I will still use CBT with.
Sure.
Just part of like a toolbox.
Of course. And it's actually a really good segue to a question that I wanted to ask, but for any viewer of this video, if they're curious of how would they get started, they'd like to know what the process looks like. They might want to become a patient or a client, but don't quite know what to do. Maybe talk a little bit about what a session or what the process may look like for someone that might be interested or that has questions.
Sure. So for the process for becoming a client for me would be whatever you feel more comfortable with. You could email me, you could call me, text me, let me know that you're interested, would like some more information. And you could also check out my profile on Psychology Today that shows my specializations, some things about how payment works and more logistical things like that. And I accept virtual clients. So I live in Beverly Hills. I see people in Beverly Hills, but what's so great and kind of a change in during the pandemic was that now we can do HIPAA compliant telehealth. So I can see people all over California. And then I also have in-person clients in 2 different locations in Los Feliz and the Pacific Palisades. So you would get in touch with me, and then I offer a 15 to 20-minute free consult call. So I would just give you a call, hear you out, what brings you here, what are you looking for in therapy? Have you been to therapy before? Could definitely explore if I'm sensing that maybe there's some reticence, could explore what that is for you. And you'll just get a sense for my vibe and see if this is something that you want to open the door to and try. Also, while I would love for you to become a client for as long as you either need therapy or want therapy, if you feel that it's not for you, or if you feel that after a couple sessions you've gotten what you need, that's okay too. Fit, like finding the right fit in a therapist, is really, really important. And I want people to feel like what we're doing is working. And I also, it's really important to me, and I impress this upon all of my clients, that I don't want things to go unsaid, or for me to feel them to feel like I'm really the authority. I do a lot of checking in with clients, like, how are you feeling? Are there things that we've been doing in therapy that you'd like more or less of? How are you feeling about our connection? Because it really is, while it's not a fully reciprocal relationship, because you're not going to be therapizing me and knowing everything about my life, it is a relationship and a connection. So it is important to have that consultation call, see if it's a fit, for me to answer any questions that you may have. And then, you can take your time to think about it, or you can say like, I'm in, let's plan a session. And I see clients weekly or bi-weekly. If you're interested in joining a group, kind of happens on like a rolling basis, because I need enough people that kind of have a similar fit of issues to group together. So you can always inquire about that as well. Is there anything else like specific about that
No,
that I didn't
that was great. And I think, I mean, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like I could be asking you questions and talking about this for hours. It's
Yeah, yeah. That's
super
what's so
insightful.
great about it. It's so like, it really is so interesting. I mean, it's all about the human experience, and also being like a witness for people and a space for people, but also helping people build skills like emotional regulation skills, people skills. Yeah, and it's really interesting to see what works for people and what doesn't. Every single client is so unique, and I respect deeply the relationship that I have with each client.
Folks, we're going to pop up all of Melanie's contact information here on screen. So if at any point you have questions, if you're interested in that consultation or know of someone who may benefit from Melanie's services, I encourage you to be able to connect with her. Melanie, I'd love to wrap up with, is there any one last thing that you think that the viewers might benefit from or should know about?
That's a really good question.
And not
I
to
would
put
say
you on the spot.
no, I would say therapy is really like a flow. Like I'm coming in with an informed idea of what you're going through, what your goals are. But something that I love about it is that I never know what's happened in your life since the last session. So it keeps me on my toes when you come in, and wherever you're at, I meet you right where you're at. And I would say that's one of the most amazing things about therapy is just knowing that you have that space. You might a day before your therapy session go, I don't even think I'm going to have anything to talk about. And then life happens. So yeah, I would say I love that it's kind of about the improv of life, but backed with the kind of theoretical, psychological knowledge. So I look forward to helping, truly, I look forward to helping as many people as I can. And in advance, I thank you for the growth that we'll both experience through working together. And Erik, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about my business and what I'm doing. It's truly a pleasure, and I really am very grateful to you.
Yeah, thanks. Me as well. This was an absolute treat. So folks, like I mentioned, any questions, please, again, contact Melanie. All of her information is here. As always, this is Erik Brown, your Beverly Hills real estate agent, bringing you the best of LA, where we get to see cool businesses like Melanie's and how you can connect with them. So until the next time, this is Melanie and Erik signing off.